Your first job in the wine trade was working for the great Robert Mondavi. What did he teach you about winemaking that has had the most profound influence on you as a winemaker?
I would say that what I learned from and about Robert Mondavi was less about wine making and more about wine marketing. And the reality is that he essentially made Napa Valley what it is today, and that all of us that are continuing to make wine here in the Napa Valley owe it to Robert Mondavi for not only pioneering the valley, but going all over the world and promoting it, which has allowed us to continue to make wine here. Yeah.
So when you started the winery, did you have any hopes or aspirations of creating a brand that would reach such a cult status?
Absolutely not. I remember distinctly early on almost having a rule for myself that I would never make over 1,000 cases. At the time, the cult wines that were in existence were these, unicorns in my mind, or these things that just beyond aspirational. Some of them are still in that category. And that was, my goal was to, yes, make possibly the best, first off, make the best wine I can make and go from there. And if that ended up being a cult wine, that is just the byproduct of luck and hard work and timing. But by no means was that my motivation or expectation going in.
Did you begin as a winemaker with a clear idea in mind as to the style you wanted to create? And in that, how much experimentation was there to begin with?
Early on in my career, I was making the style of wine that I enjoyed drinking at the time, and that was a little bit, avant-garde. There was a few other people that were making wines of a riper style, and a more concentrated style. I made this joke the other day, it's at some point, I'm sure in the Rolling Stones history, some producer or manager, when disco was a fad, asked them to come out with a disco album. And that's what we've tried not to do, is that what we've tried to do is establish a style and then through experimentation, build on that style and make it better. But at no point can we veer too far from the core of what that wine style is. And that's why I use the Rolling Stones reference. You can't go from hard driving rock and roll to disco to hip hop. You either are rock and roll or you're not.
So in sourcing grapes from so many sites throughout Napa and California in general, how do you go about vineyard selection to ensure the best quality grapes that go into the wine?
I would say that's something that over my tenure we've spent the most time at and continue to do so. A lot of it is through drinking wines from a region and then going to that region or that appellation, and then hopefully we know people there, but we've done some research beforehand, so by the time we get there, we're looking at vineyards that we can buy the fruit or buy the vineyard so that we're not wasting our time. And there's a sort of a comfort level that you get when you've gotten past the science of it. Is it the right rootstock? Is it the right clone? Is it the right aspect? And much of it is a feel thing. And that, unfortunately, that sword cuts both ways, because sometimes the most beautiful vineyard that checks all the boxes usually makes a pretty good wine or a great wine, but often you get what I would call a pleasant surprise when a vineyard that you don't necessarily love but looks pretty good over delivers. So it's a constant learning process.
So you were inspired to become a winemaker after spending some time in Italy. What was it about the Napa Valley that made you want to make wine there?
It was simply a process of picking. I'm from California. I'm very proud of being from California. It was simply not even a process of elimination. If you're gonna shoot, it's what we continue to do. If I'm gonna try to make red wine in the Napa Valley or in California, where do they make the best red wine? Arguably Napa. So at age 20, whatever, and it was very much by design. If I'm going to go, I'm going to go. It's like if you're going to play baseball, you want to go play for the Yankees. Or if you're, I think this is going to England. So if you want to play soccer, you're going to want to play for Man United or Liverpool. But it's, you're going to shoot for the top, and then of course, it's very easy to fall in love with the Napa Valley. And I still live here, have got married here, kids are baptized here. So it's more than just a place where I work.
What has been a consistent motivator for you throughout your career?
The most consistent motivator is, for us over the years, is the understanding, belief, and acceptance that we've never made a complete wine or a wine that we're truly happy with, and that we're always striving to find that, which we know is impossible. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, but it forces us to constantly be pushing ourselves to experiment, find better vineyards, experiment with new oak, work harder, work longer, whatever you want to call it. But the motivation stopped being any kind of money or accolades or critical acclaim a long time ago, and it's the sort of the eternal goal of making something that is probably impossible.
If you hadn't become a winemaker, what would you have done instead?
Wow, it's a really good question. The 10-year-old boy would have become a stuntman. The 15-year-old adolescent would have wanted to be a competitive skier. Once I found it, there was nothing else. It's a really tough question. I'm semi-stumped. I'm not even joking. I mean, the only thing honestly now, there was no plan B. I mean, once I sort of fell or decided this is what I want to do, there was kind of everything else has been has come from this. So yeah, I didn't really know what I wanted to do at the 18 to 21 age, other than, when it hit, there was nothing else. So as an adult, this is the only thing I've ever wanted to do.
So at home after a long day, what is your drink of choice, and do you have an all-time favorite wine?
The truth be told, most of the time when I go home, not the first thing I do, but when most of the year is pretty warm here, so I usually prefer a cold beer. And then for the most part, white or red Burgundy or a Pinot Noir these days. I had a wonderful red from Sicily the other night. It ebbs and flows as I'm experimenting with other varietals. I want to try to find the best in show of those wines, if you will. So there's a combination of what I want to drink and what I think I should be drinking to continue my education. As far as the best bottle of wine or the best wine I've ever had, was that the question? Mm-hmm. I would say there's two, and both of them have absolutely nothing to do with the wine. One was a rosé. I was in the south of France with a bunch of friends and sitting on the beach. Cannot tell you what the wine was, but it was the people I was with, and we were smoking cigarettes, and I think we went through 5 or 6 bottles of this wine. There was a bunch of us, and it was just the most amazing day, and that wine was perfect. And then the other was a Brunello di Montepulciano that my wife and I had in Florence the day that we got engaged. So I, again, couldn't even tell you the producer, but I think it might have been Banfi, and I think it was in 96, but I'm not sure.
So with so many projects in place and so many things going on in your world, do you get time to relax? And when you do, what do you like to do to blow off steam?
Oh, I mean, yes, I get time to relax, and fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of what I like to do while I'm relaxing is think about work or other parts of work, because I'm very fortunate that this isn't just my job or my profession. It's what I love to do. But when there are times when I've had enough, and honestly, my favorite thing to do is I'm working on another project that may never get finished or perfected, which is a dry stacked rock wall at a property we have nearby. It's about 30 minutes away, and there's no cell service, and I can go there and listen to a podcast and critique my horrible rock building skills.